Nobody come on yet.
Everybody, but the lack of discipline. My thing is, this is an HR class. And so the standards for the people, and I guess I don't, I guess I don't see like that other people. That's all I can say. Hey, Margaret, good to see you. Margaret, did you send in your second assignment? Hi, Margaret, doing? Oh, sorry.
I'm on, just driving home.
Did you send in your homework?
Pardon?
Did you send your second assignment in?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, that's been dropping off all day. Thank you. All day. No.
Good evening.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm all right. And yourself?
Great.
Everybody else?
I'm just getting this ready. So.
Okay. I'm doing something else. Well, I'm listening in, so I'm here, but I'll have my camera on for a little bit.
Okay. Just make sure you on at 8 o'clock, because I have a nice surprise for you all. If you, hey,
Stop the work and let me on.
Can I show you all how beautiful those certificates are?
You did,
They are really, really worth it. And if you all think y'all don't just get it because y'all show up.
I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. That's not convincing about you.
Pardon?
Don't be nervous. I just need you to have your wits about you.
Okay.
Margaret. Hi.
I'm here.
You were in, I don't think you remember, you were in session last week,
Yes, I was in session last week. I remember.
the full session.
Yes, I was in a full session last week.
Oh, okay.
I missed no class when I was there. Only the week before that, after a certain time, remember the internet was acting up with some students.
Okay.
That's what happened.
All right. Okay. She's so. Okay.
Excuse me, let me speak, Mike. I'm trying to spell.
Yeah. Okay. Y'all too young to be at that stage where you get hot and cold. Y'all too
I thought it
young.
was human.
No, y'all too young. And I passed that years ago. So if you're right in the middle. Okay, folks, here's what I want you to do. I would like you to take a look at your course objectives. So take a look at your workbook. And we want to write down the list with the exception of number 7, because we're going to look at number 7 tonight. But what I want you to do, as you read each objective, ask yourself what that objective stated covered. And if there is something that wasn't covered that you want information or clarification on, just we'll talk about it. Okay? So you can just go down there and you can make a note on the side, or you can go one by one. You can just type up and we'll talk about it. Because the idea was for you to understand HR as a strategic function. And I'm very sorry that Ms. Laura isn't here because last time she made a very valuable comment, and along the lines of, she likes HR and she enjoys it, but she has never had any type of formal education or training in HR. And I believe that in order to understand HR so that you can do it effectively, you need at least to be introduced. You need some type of formal structural knowledge. And so this is what this class tried to provide for you. Actually, in the workplace, a competency-based type of knowledge and of training for you. Because one of the things that I have found with textbooks, and I have a lot of textbooks, is that most of the people who write the text, guess what? They are practitioners. They are practitioners. So they a lot of them, they don't know what to say to you. Okay? And I tell people to be very careful also, because let's call them knowledge people. They write books for fame and money and, not necessarily to connect with what's going on. And also, I caution about those American books, because their workplace, when you look at the American workplace, ours would be like a minute little toy to theirs. And there is no way you would run, an organization, 35,000 people, 3,000 people, 10,000 people, 2,000 people all over the states. It becomes very difficult to relate to that sort of thing. Also, their laws that we're going to be talking about tonight are very different than ours. And I find that interesting. In the States, you're in one place, you can sue somebody for looking at you. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, one way. They sexually harass me. It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, that name and stuff she do.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my gosh. Because that's how we are touchy, feely people. Okay. Also, the other thing we do without meaning it is our speech. The way we talk is different. Because I'll say to Joseph, girl, you better watch out before I don't kill you here. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's said as conversation and jest.
Yeah.
But in some places, listen, I find it absolutely, I find it astounding. And this is why I really want to encourage you all to go outside your comfort zone. Read the news, listen to what's happening in the world, listen to cable and all of that. Because sometimes I sit down and I am absolutely horrified at the trouble people get into that they really shouldn't get into. And then they come up with all these movements and stuff like that. Like, Me Too. Long time ago, someone touched me, and for years and years and years and years, I said nothing. But now, the touch made me feel uncomfortable. So
I don't like that either.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. And so,
Yes.
and so, we have to see ourselves in our context. Keep in mind the broader issues, the basic content of HR is the same, how it's applied. And that's why we do what we did. So when we talk about HR management as a strategic function within the organization in terms of context of HR, the role of HR, the challenges, practice and related. Is everybody comfortable with what they have learned and gleaned about that? Did it come together for you? And this is another reason why I said to you, it would come together if you would read This was meant for you to read, okay? This might look like a big deal to you, but I spent literally weeks pouring through and picking out things to take a lot of the burden of you from reading a lot of stuff. And then number two, aligning HR practices with each other and with the organization's internal and external environments. You ought to feel that you can pretty much, well, not you ought to feel, but you ought to, at this point, understand what that means and be able to actually recognize the practices and how they align with your organization's internal and external environment. And remember, we keep referring back to culture and environment. That's really important because culture and environment set the stage for what your HR, how effective, you put it like that, your HR will be and how it will function. And then the third course objective was HR planning for successful talent management. And I think you all should be very, very comfortable with that one. I think everybody's comfortable with that in terms of the right quality of people, the right quantity, and the right availability. And talking about right quality and right quantity and right availability. This is perhaps a good time to fill vacancies, but you gotta do it smartly, okay? Because the field out there, the talent out there is so much, you could pick, choose, and refuse. But also in this kind of environment, one of the things that tends to happen in this environment, what do you think that is? It's a huge management, HR challenge. Even though this is a good time to get the best.
They also
Exactly. But it also presents one of the biggest challenges for HR management, right? We talked a lot about it, right? Especially in a small society like this, like ours. So why is that a challenge?
I would say we are in times of desperation. Persons who have the ability to hire and make, those demands upon HR might lean more towards persons they really know that,
That's the biggest,
yeah.
that's a huge
Yeah.
challenge. In
Church.
our society, that's right.
Church.
Your church, your friends, your
Come back to school.
you understand? Politics,
Yeah.
things, stuff.
Yeah.
So everybody, you would have hundreds and hundreds of people for one job. Okay?
Yeah, yep.
And then there's something else along with that HR have to be cognizant of. And I've been saying this for years. I can tell you, years ago in my training, like around the early 80s, the mid 80s, the early 90s, because in all my jobs, I always did training. Inside, outside, always, okay? And you know what I used to tell them? There's going to come a time. I remember the telcos, people used to drive me crazy because they could not understand the concept of producing, not they couldn't understand. They did not want to go to the level to produce quality customer service, you know, and to begin to understand how processes work. And something as simple as if I tell you my phone is not working, that was before cell phones became so important. But if I told you my phone was not working, you will give me, you say you will be out there in 4 days. And then 4, 5, 6 days you reach. And they could not understand. And so what happened? I used to tell them there's going to come a day. And I want you all to think about it, because one of our big problems is it's too hard to think. But I told them it's going to come a day where all us Bahamians, most of us, let's say most of us, generally speaking, gonna be squished right in the middle of something. We're gonna be fighting for those jobs right in the middle. And that's why then unemployment will bloom just like it's doing now. Because there are certain jobs Bahamians don't want to do.
That's the fact.
Yes. Okay? So that's a whole set of jobs. I mean, I don't understand. There's such opportunities, for example, with yard cleaning and gardening and all these sorts of things. And Bahamians have a problem, and when they want to do it, they want to charge so much. It's like they have no ability to price, market standards and stuff like that. They really don't know how. Okay, and it's amazing. They wouldn't mind doing, let's call it landscaping at a hotel. But they don't want to go on yards and do. I do not understand. Okay, all the laboring work. The laboring work, like say construction laboring work. They don't want to do that. They say that's too hard. That's too hard and the sun is too hot. Okay? And so I am thinking, and I say to people who sending their children off to college, they mortgage in their house, they do all kind of things, right? And I understand why they would want the children to go off to college. But you also have to understand the economy of your country. And HR people have to know these things. What is the economy of your country built on?
But Miss Marcel, although you're saying Bahamians don't want to do certain jobs, right? Could it be too that you might say Bahamians don't want to clean and all different stuff, but Bahamians don't want to pay. So when a Bahamian come to you and say, okay, I'm going to charge you $150 for cleaning your house or whatever they charge, $120, but you find a foreigner, what so they can charge you $70. So to us, we feel like our people overpriced. You understand what I'm saying? Which in reality, the foreigner, they just want that money. They're just looking for a job. It doesn't matter what you pay them. I think that's the issue too we have here.
Shall I disagree?
You disagree with it? You just don't think they just don't want that job at all.
But
there are certain things that
Payments ain't doing.
Bahamians don't want to do. They don't want to do the hard, steady work.
They don't want to do the labor.
They don't want to do the hard laboring work. Now you tell them all that they could go be a bartender, again, or a waiter, or security, or what's the next popular one? Messenger. And I'm talking about low-skilled people.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Right. Okay. That's They used to tell me, and I see it right now. They used to tell me, when I say, well, you know, I could find you, I could get you a job in construction because we got to hook up over Atlantis. And them parents used to, wait, you want my son to go in the sun? My son is working in the sun. I go, well, lady, that's not going to work. I told you, I didn't need, I work.
Mm.
We have this, honestly, we have this attitude. Before we learn a skill, we would rather go inside and shop coconut that we keep for everybody else. Okay?
Oh, Lord.
I think
But the thing is, I was gonna say that the same thing happens here. I find, especially when
Wow.
I think construction, the majority of persons in that industry are Guyanese.
Foreigners. Oh.
that's right.
Like, so you got Guyanese. Recently you've seen a lot of Chinese. So at first I was wondering too if it was the pay, if the wages just didn't want, so if they were paying less. But I think is that we don't like working either. So we don't like hard work.
But a part of it is the pay too, though. A part of it is the pay too.
No, stop saying that because that's listen. Margaret, how much the industry average for labor, and this is why your HR people and people aspiring to HR, there are some networking opportunities that you must follow up with. You should know, call the labor board. You find out what the industry average is for these professions. What's the industry average for a labor, a landscape laborer? What's the industry average for a construction laborer? And you'll find that is around, for the construction, is around $70 a day. Okay? And last time I multiplied 70 by 5, that was plenty money. That was $350. And that's where it starts. Okay.
Okay.
So if you have a yard and it takes the guy with the lawnmower 44 hours to do your yard, and the average yard is 100 by 100. Okay, when you got 100 by 100, you got a tiny big yard. And they can clean that and pick your thing in 4 hours. Why should you pay more than $70 a day? That is the standard. And you have to know the standard in the area. So you can
That's true. Okay.
And like I said, like right now, we're in trouble. We're in trouble out there because there ain't no jobs for the people, not them, and not the knowledge people. Okay? Like for example, all those people that were laid off from Atlantis and Bahama and Melia Coast, okay? Where they gotta go? These are, let's call them knowledge people. And I started to say, when you're going off to school, you have to think of two things. You have to think of how is your country developing? What is it developing in? And we have the stage, Lord knows where. I don't see no development in no area, no way. And these are beneficial to average baby. So you have to think about that. Then you might think, well, maybe I want to stay, I want to stay abroad for a few years. That's a good thing, because I am absolutely positive. If I had not stayed abroad, my university was 4 years in Canada, and I lived there for 2.5 years. And my values and work ethics are very different, because then you begin to understand how other people see things. Like, I fret for my Bahamian people, because they honestly have a sense of entitlement. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. I'm so relieved to see you all tonight because I didn't think y'all were going to come, because it looked rainy. And that kind of thing, you know, this is why you need to know what's happening in the world. Last year, in the height of COVID, y'all remember some of the things that happened? Then people who worked in particular in the meat factories, with their COVID, spreading fever, all kinds of things, they're not making the people come to work to cut up meat to sell here for us to eat. I just tired still, but you know what I mean, right? We slack. Listen, everybody will tell you that. We slack. And then, you know, read some the published manuals from places like the IDB, the IMF, the World Bank. People, they have us listed way down to the bottom of the productivity scale for low productivity and high wages. Why do you think certain kind of industries don't come here? The cost of labor is too high. And this is what like Kimberly said, right? If you have migrants coming from say Guyana, the example she used. So they come in, and because of their economy, they probably are getting paid what Barbados will pay. Okay? And we got a problem. I know we got a problem. Because we're so used to plenty money. I am telling you. And then we say, you know, I will give you all an example. As I say, I will never forget this as long as I live. In the Parliament of the Bahamas, I was parliamentary secretary the first 2 years with the Ministry of Tourism. So my portfolio encompassed the Welcome Center and Watson Square and all the marketplace, going to all the different islands, and that's what I did. And I remember walking around the square and asking some ladies. I said, the braiders, hair braiders. Well, Jesus, hair braiders. I thought I was for freedom. I said, well, can you all make $300 a week or $400 a week? No, but they almost ate me alive. Okay? Miss Marcel, $300 or $400 a week? You crazy? You crazy? If the woman tell me if they don't make $300 or $400 a day, they ain't make no money. You know what I tell you? So you're trying to tell me you're in a country and you don't have a problem with people thinking like that? You don't have a problem? I also did a trip to Jamaica. The assistant front desk manager at the hotel we stayed. And they're nice people. They want to stay in their place. They're like us, okay? But he was so nice. I was chatting with him and all that, right? And so I told him, I just want to give you some idea of how things are over here. In terms of wages and all that, because I had gone down to study, to look at their national training agency in the event of creating ours. And that young man gave me a figure in Jamaican dollars. That sounded like plenty, couple of thousand a week. And so I said, well, that's wonderful. He said, Miss, he said, that's $160 US. Jesus Christ, you can't pay. Okay, our minimum wage is more than that. It's $210, I think, private, and $250 for government. Okay, and so I am saying,
Where's this? Where's this?
Jamaica.
Or Jamaica, okay.
No, you mean minimum wage?
You
What
say
do you-
210 is minimum wage where in Nassau?
I think.
The minimum wage is now, the minimum wage is now 230.
230?
I heard somebody say that, I didn't know it went up again.
Oh.
Yes, 230. That's why I was asking which we talking about.
Oh, see, those are the sorts of things HR people supposed to know. Because I don't care who you have on your payroll. You realize if you had people on your payroll at 210, that you have to move them up to 230.
Yeah, you have to pay. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yep, you're supposed to.
Exactly. And so I am saying that while you get like the formalized contextual stuff that we've been doing in HR, it's not enough for you. It's not enough. You've got to come out of your comfort zone. A good HR person is out of their comfort zone and they know what is happening around. Okay? If you're just sitting down behind a desk and waiting to do what they want to do, you're a waste of time and shouldn't be around. And so, as a people, we have to get out of that complacent mindset and listen. This was a few years ago. I hired a Bahamian to lay some tiles. Okay, somebody referred him and he said, oh, how good he was, and he had this certificate, and he is the. This man break up. Must be 5 of my tiles to try to get a corner. That's why you don't have to worry about me, because every time he paid for.
I said, that's not the same thing.
Every tile was deducted. But that opened my eye to something, okay? And in the parliament, when I got up to BTVI, actually when I came from Jamaica, and saw the quality of Jamaica's technical schools and colleges and stuff like that. And I went up to BTVI. They had built a house. Nothing on that house was straight. One wall was going, so one wall was going, so one wall was going. And I asked the man, how can you teach someone to build this? Okay.
You in a BTVI?
Yeah, no, they nailed it. Okay, and people get upset when you say these kind of things, but don't get upset at me, because it's the truth. Okay, and we will always have that. Harry, I hope it's not like this in Barbados, because when the other people come in, they work more, their work is better quality work,
We ain't talking about construction no more. We have something else.
We talking about work period.
Okay.
We talking about work period.
Okay.
And I am saying that the Bahamian workforce, period, must improve its productivity. I will tell you, there was a company that was really outstanding in terms of quality of work, especially the technicians and the workers and stuff like that. BEC, before it became BEL. They were bad. Okay? Out of the off in the middle of the storm and now they got everything back up. And I do not know how they get to this stage today. But those Bahamian guys, they worked with pride. Working at BC was like icing on the cake. They were very, very, very good. And I think we need to get back to that. So, Denise, when you talk about the one of the management challenges, and you brought up how people are chosen. Sometimes, okay? Sometimes. All right? Recruiting and selecting the right talent. And so it doesn't surprise me that our organizations are the way they are. Because if you put the wrong people in, what do you expect? Okay? If you put people in there, politicians just feel sorry for them, send them down to get a job. They get a job. They ain't know how I get here. They ain't know how I. And so managers and HR should have the leeway, man, to monitor and be able to get rid of rotten apples. Honestly, I've always felt like that. And so that's number 4. We dealt with recruiting and selecting the right talent. Number 5, training and developing the talent.
That's the course objectives we going over.
Yes, because I want you all to make sure that in the 6 that we have done, because we're going to look at number 7 tonight, that you all have a good understanding of the objectives, the reason why you were here. Because I told you from the beginning, if there was something that I missed and you wanted to know, questions you want to ask and all of that, to feel free to ask. So I am assuming that we have 1 through 6 down pat. And at 8 o'clock, maybe a little bit after, because I don't see a couple of people. I don't see Salita and I don't see George.
We come at 8 o'clock tonight.
You stay right there.
Yeah, you just said 8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock.
Really better, huh?
You want to get your mind ready because I have a wonderful surprise.
I didn't hear you. So what happened? So hold on, we ain't getting at 8 o'clock.
Peekaboo, girl.
Okay, so what's happening at 8 o'clock? I'm missing that. Sorry, what happened at 8?
No, I wouldn't tell you. It just happens at 8. What I say, you have to be online at 8. I want to see you because what you have to do is a part of your marks. It's a part of your homework assignment marks. And that's because every week we met, what did Ms. Marcel say? What did I ask you all? Yes, ma'am. I asked you, I said, when you go home, because I don't want you to retain. I want you to be able to reason. Nobody in the world could retain all the stuff.
That's what is a lot.
Yeah, no, this is nothing. This is nothing. Okay.
Okay. So at 8 o'clock, you giving us some kind of assignment or something?
Yeah, they want to do
Nervous.
I can have an assignment, you have a in-class assignment.
Right?
Don't worry about that, Margaret, that's small things. The idea is
Be tired today.
for, you what?
Be tired.
That's all right, you drank it. The idea is for you to be able to think. All right? Because you have to, okay, you're gonna have to sit down at some point, at some time, and try to help your organization in the direction it should go, the things they should do. Otherwise, what you there for? Otherwise, you serve no purpose. Okay? Unless, like, it's a kind of big organization, and like I say, you're tallying who missed today and who ain't come today and how much vacation do have and da 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 da. But that's not a career. A career is when through what you do, you are influencing a difference. And a lot of these people don't know what you know from just sitting in here for a couple of weeks. They don't know. I'm telling you, to hear that lady say what she said last week, that was an absolute joy. And it's almost 7 o'clock. What's the use of saying it? You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You have to want to live up to all the things you know and do all the things you're supposed to do, especially HR. HR is supposed to be the walking, shining example for that organization. Everybody's supposed to be tipping because you're all tipping. And when they're tipping, and that got to start from the head, from the top. You got to tip. Someone said in there that I thought was so cute. I think they were talking about induction. And someone mentioned that maybe there should be a fashion show. What was that? I thought that was really innovative. Okay? During that time, have 4 or 5 your employees come out the way they should look in different, in different types of clothes and but show them, okay? It also makes it fun. It's motivating. And so HR has to sit down and deal with things like that. And that brings you into number 6, managing talent performance for high productivity and continuous improvement. And that's what we did last week, when we talked about performance management and how important that is and the things that help you to develop the system or the method or the technique for performance management that we use. And so our last objective that we didn't talk about was employee health and safety practices from number 1, an ethical and an obligatory perspective, and also from the legal perspective. So let us take a look at that. So let me ask HR. is a part, but before I ask you, I was going to ask, it's a part of your induction. There's a part of your induction deal with organizational health and safety dynamics. Where you are, in particular, it should deal with that. Because don't you still have to come home to work on the boat? And then you gotta go on an island, and then you gotta go swimming, the fish might bite you. And then, so don't you have?
Not an induction, no. But I guess the people in the waters, when they get in, they, you know.
Yeah, but
That's why I think induction should be at least 2 weeks. So
Yes,
they do
yes.
proper, you know,
I totally agree with you.
proper
I
training
totally
and
agree with
something
you.
that's familiarization.
I totally agree with you. And what should follow up that induction is periodic coaching and counseling of that employee during the period of their probation. Because it's not fair just to take them in and then dump them someplace and all you do is complain about what they don't do. What are you doing about what they don't do? Because most people could learn if you take the time to teach and coach them. Yes, properly train them. And this is why I tell you, HR, you have to share your knowledge. You have to find a way to share your knowledge with your supervisory and management team. But health and safety dynamics are important. Give me some. What are some of the indications and signs in organizations that say they're serious about health and safety? What are some of the things that you see? Come on, HR. Give us some safety things. What, I mean, COVID, these should be in the organization, period. You wait till COVID come to kill you. Huh? They should be there. Come on, Carrie, what are some of the safety?
The fire extinguisher.
The fire extinguishers, the stairs, signs, that's it. You're supposed to be fighting for those things, but you can't fight for them if you don't know. You don't know. What sort of policies you have in your organization in terms of health and safety? Because this supposed to be in your handbook. What sort of policies? Come on out. What sort of health and safety policies? There are basic ones. Let me give you a small example. Just suppose you walk, you step onto the ferry. And the ferry floor is red. There's no indication there's red, there's no sign, red floor, there's no nothing. And so you slip and broke your hip bone. What is there in place? The company now, not workman's compensation. what obligation does the company, would the company have an obligatory right, or obligatory responsibility to its employees?
No, you know, if it happened during the shift, you write up your paperwork that says percent of national insurance, but outside of
So they don't have any liability coverage.
I have to dig up on the.
Exactly. You
Yeah,
get,
they should though, but yeah.
yeah, especially in business like yours, that's life
They should, they
insurance,
might, yeah. but-
you know?
Yeah, I thought they should have about it. You know, that's a good question.
Yeah, and just, you
I
know.
mean, like you say, you know, so much exposure, risks out there,
Mhm,
because they're always in the water, someone could drown, someone, you know what I mean? And those activities, so they probably do.
mhm,
Probably do. But I guess they want to have to use it for, in the thing going, nothing will happen.
mhm. But at least you should know, what's there, because you might have to, you know, embellish it, make it better, do, and so, and a lot of these things, are put in your handbook. And the kind of questions you wanna be asking when you talk about health and safety dynamics. Like, you wanna ask yourself, how detailed should it be? How, um, you should make sure, that they comply legally. Because, and this is why you have to know the laws that pertain to human employment, let me put it like that. And, because I was supposed to, research and I forgot, but I wanted to know, I know there, but as a practicing HR person, and I don't know if it changed with the employment, law of 2000 that came into effect 2002, but you know, there was a law, or there is a law, that you cannot withhold more than a third, I think it was, of an employee's salary. And that was sensible. I had research to see if the new employment act superseded that. Because, like, for example, if you terminated somebody and they owed you, and you have $1,000 for them, but they owe you 600, you couldn't take the whole 600. You see, I have to check that, because I thought that was a good bit of legislation, good bit. But HR, you should know what the safety dynamics of your organization, what's the health dynamics. Do organizations have, employee assistance programs in terms of health?
I mean, for like mental health and stuff.
Yeah, like
Some
mental
companies
health
do.
and
Oh, well,
drugs
Yeah,
and,
oh, well, my cousin, but,
okay. You all have that?
Yeah, but
Y'all do?
we have a complaint, yeah.
Okay.
oh, my cousin, really, really good one.
Okay. Because, you know, these are some of the things that, you can look at in your health and safety program. I know, and that's, I think that's a major difference between us and US. They got some serious laws. My God, I tell you. You fluctuate, you're also lost. Okay, so the other thing that we want to talk about is compliance. I remember right up front, we talked about core values and culture. There's some ethical things that ought happen in an organization. You know, some organizations have ethical rules and regulations. So think of one, or think of an example of an ethical. Spit it out, don't worry. What may be an ethical? Come on, you Lance, come on, y'all. Ethical. Think of what ethics is, you know? Ethics is like kind of shouldn't, you know? I am sure that at your organization, taking money from a client, this is just an example, to work a claim.
I mean, like, what do you call it, Tiffany? What, the speed of things, that's what you're saying?
No, I ain't saying tipping.
That's what I'm saying, when you say
Something that
take them,
is-
that's what you call a tip, if someone says she processed something to get, I sent in the medical and I wanted them passed, so I called them. Money pass, I give something, I give them
Yeah,
$20.
no, but that ain't a
Oh, you
tip.
mean like
That ain't a
something
tip, that's a
like-
bribe.
Right.
A tip is after she finished her work,
give
you
them
say,
the same
thank you,
and then-
I
yeah,
really
okay.
appreciate, you know,
That's true.
whether that
That's
might
different.
take 1 day or 3 days.
Okay.
When she's done, you
maybe
say,
I'll ask them
thank
ahead of
you.
time, tell
That,
them
that's
ahead
a
of time.
gratuity,
Okay.
but ahead of time is unethical behavior, okay? And so people, well, honestly, it happens too much in the public service where people expect to be paid. If you want something done, you gotta come up with a little something, you gotta pay. Oh, that's exactly, well, that's the type of being unethical, okay? Another example is you have companies whose ethical value is that employees don't have relationships. You know, that's another thing.
That's a common one.
That's a common.
Yeah, I've heard that plenty times on different jobs.
That no employee relationships.
But how could you really tell an employee they can't have a relationship with the next person? I understand.
On the job, that's
Right.
right.
On the job, but.
Separate them from each other.
Yeah, no, but I know companies, I work for companies. And that was
No,
Right, no,
yeah,
no.
because I, well, place that I work too, they did
Yeah.
encourage it, once they
Yeah.
find out once a person, they.
Yeah.
Manager and the staff.
One of them had
person,
to leave.
One had to leave.
Especially
Yeah.
especially
In the same area.
manager
Oh,
and what report, think about that.
Yeah, now that was probably.
You know,
Yeah.
think about that, because you have some people that are very silly, okay? You have some people you wouldn't even know, but then you have some people. I remember him.
I tell you,
And the sad part of it is, it could cause a problem, a challenge for HR, because normally, well, more often than not, let me put it like that. In situations like that, you find the top wanting to do extra for the bottom. In other words, the manager might want to give her, she should get a raise, or you know, or change her title to something. And it's unfortunate, but I have seen those things, okay? I have seen those things, and it caused a lot of problems, okay? The other way it causes problems is when they should be working. I'm seeing right now a case we have in the El Casino. They should be working, they all go chatting. It's not a good idea, okay? But like those are some of the ethical things. And then you have legal compliance. See if you could think about a simple legal compliance, very simple. And I know we don't think about it in terms of legal compliance, because I don't think anybody ever challenged. But what is your first legal compliance, especially in HR? What is your first legal compliance?
HR versus pay, and I think.
Is that an HR magazine?
Yes.
I love that. They have good articles. It's, yeah. And actually, that's a good designation to do. It's easy to do. The biggest part is the same part we're talking about. Oh, yeah, that all that not having to give you plenty headache.
But I understand the HRD was doing one minus the American law. I haven't followed up on it for a while, but a lot of people behaviors are failing because of the same American law. So the HRD.
Okay.
The Bahamian law was supposed to be saying if they could get an exam minus the American law.
Okay, cool.
So,
do that.
but like I haven't looked into it for a while, you know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they still exist.
The HRD.
I don't know nothing about them.
Yeah, I guess depends on, I don't know who the leader is now, but yeah, it's still around.
Yeah, like I said,
Sure.
you need to. You man, listen. To be the best, to be at the top, you need energy here. You need energy. You need to get out of your comfort zone. BHRDA started in my living room. I was renting then. Me and Roosevelt Finlayson. You all know that name?
Yeah.
Don't forget Roosevelt. Roosevelt has contributed a lot to this country in terms of training. Yeah, but I was its founding president and served for 2 terms. And your boss was also at one point a president. So I believe like that sort of thing that I felt people to talk, but it's like it started to go. And who leads you is important. You don't mind nobody. Who leads you is important. Because if you have and I'm not saying anything wrong with say a personnel assistant or administrative personnel person, They can head, they ought not head an organization because they don't have the influence. They're not at the level where, like I say, you won't arrive in HR unless you sit in around that management decision-making table. Now, when you get there, you arrive, and even when you get there, you gotta work your magic, okay? And you gotta come across as knowing what you're talking about. Okay? You have
Speak
to.
with confidence.
Yes. That's very important. So let me get back to my question. What is an example of yes, legal? We're talking ethical and legal compliance. What is an example you can apply? A simple one for a legal compliance. First thing, HR does something when you're recruiting and selecting. What is the thing you do to me? Yeah, what is the thing you do that is legal?
Ensure a contract is included.
Absolutely. Your contract, and it can be a formal contract, it can be just a letter of engagement, which is also a contract. Okay, it's a contract, and that's why it's important how you write that contract, what you put in that contract. It's important when you tell them what they hired to do. Because people come back and bite you. They try to bite me all the time. All right? They say, I wasn't hired to do that. Blah, 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 blah. And I would say, get your letter and read it. Because always at the bottom of that was, and because you would have the job description attached to that contractual letter or that contract. And always the last thing was, and any other. Not duties as assigned. I used to say any other related duty. Okay? Okay.
And all my work. When you finish it, just
Yeah.
Would you say related? Maybe she'll fix that for you, because
Yeah.
the next time I'm not at the
Is it
bottom.
okay if I have a snack?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. No, any other related.
Related,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's a contract. Okay? And in that, employers should have, as a matter of fact, for a middle and upper level job, I never signed anything. You can't sign anything that is not in your best interest. And this is one of the areas that I really think a former prime minister, Mr. Hubert England, I really think he had some vision in this area, because before, employees really used to get the bad end of the stick. They work all the years and they came out, and then people want to give them 2 weeks in lieu of notice, or 3 weeks, or 4 weeks in lieu of notice. And we used to get nothing else. You got nothing else unless it was actually written in your contracts. Okay? But now the law covers, the Employment Act that you're always supposed to look at, covers quite an array of benefits that you get when you are terminated. Okay? And that's a good thing. So that's the main legal thing that you need to deal with.
I mean, that's still the same.
Excuse me one moment.
Hmm?
No, I was asking to be excused one moment. Sorry.
Okay. And now with banks and stuff, banks and financial services, I would think that they have a lot more, legal things that you have to work with. Because if you're going to be working around people's money, I dare say plenty things are going to be involved. Because people like to, okay? And have you ever thought about maybe how we got here? Did y'all have parents or grandparents, and people like that, who worked like as housekeepers and maids and things like that?
I don't know, but my great-grandmother would be my grandmother as well.
So before they get that young, just maybe they did.
Yeah, seems to go to private home.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I brought that up for a reason, because a mindset is a very serious thing. In situations like that, most of those people, they might have taken an onion to take home, maybe a little can of cream, and you would never think of that as stealing it. Okay, my point exactly. But yes, but you wouldn't think about it. So one of our policies at my retailers and wholesalers, whether you stole a 12 set of china, a $3,000 watch, 5 candies, or 2 candies, or prejudice, or whatever, you were going. That was stealing. Stealing. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. And that was one of the things in that handbook when it comes under your correction, discipline and correction policies. Okay? And don't forget to spell out those sorts of things. Now, let me ask you all about there are 3 manuals in the Bahamas that governs the labor, employee, management, industrial relations. Yeah, what are they?
Do you mean like the Employment Act, the Minimum Wage Act, and the Industrial Relations Act? Health and Safety at Work Act.
Those two, do they come under the Employment Act broadly, or they act separate, separate by themselves?
I see 321A, Employment Act, 321B, Minimum Wages Act, and 321, Industrial Relations Act. 321C, Health and Safety at Work Act. We have one page on that. I don't have the big book, I see that.
The act is really, the act is really big, but I like it, just a little piece. The industrial relations act is fascinating. You all need to.
Nice cookies.
What, with coconut?
Nice, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. I have a question. I love coconut. Okay, so our employment act. We have everybody got a copy, like I just wanted a copy of the first couple of pages because I just wanted to.
What you want a copy of, Miss Martha?
No, the employment act, you have a copy of that?
Oh, yeah, I pull up on my laptop.
Oh, good, okay.
Wait, how you find it? Look at that.
Hey, just give me one. Yeah, okay. And this is the act that governs basic pay. This is the employment act. So those 1 3/4, I believe, are probably pieces of this. So they govern the basic pay. And this is especially important for organizations that have a wage or salary plus other bonuses, gratuities, and that sort of thing. So the basic pay means the rate of pay an employee. The rate of pay of an employee exclusive of all bonuses, overtime payments, and allowances. Now, I will tell you all what I learned way back that was very interesting. You know, every now and then, employers flare, they hate the fact of the 15% gratuity. Okay? Back in the mid-70s, that would have been 76, 77. I worked for the Ministry of Labor. It used to be the Ministry of Labor and Home Affairs. I was an industrial relations officer. And the union, they were having negotiations. And the union was meeting with the Hotel Employees Association. That would have been people, well, the union at the time was Tom Bastian, Bobby Clinton, David Thompson, David Thompson, David Knowles. Brilliant men. And they were people who were able to, to some degree, get the respect of the employers. And I could see them around that table in the office. The J. Barry Farrington represented, he was the main representative for the Hotel Employees Association. And the employers were having a problem because the union was asking for a raise. And the employers, of course, didn't want to come up with no raise. So I don't know which side came up with, okay, if the employers don't want to pay the raise, then let the guests pay the raise through compulsory gratuity. And yours truly was sitting in that negotiation, taking the notes. You talk to Thomas Bastian, he's still alive. And they could lie and twist things. I'm serious, man. And the one thing you will find, HR, is you have to encourage and help your management to have respect for and appreciate the union. Okay? But anyway, at the end of the day, they agreed to the 15% gratuity that would be tacked on to service and stuff like that. And then as the years went by, some more things, some more gratuity, was added on. for that 15% slate. Then you had gratuity on maids cleaning the room and gratuity on this and that. But now what happened? Because of the gratuity, okay, not the basic pay, because that basic pay is still low. But because of the gratuity, you had people making a lot of money. I remember as the HR that no, the Bahamas Princess called it personnel director. As the personnel director over there, my manager, the general manager, he had the stempel because the poor man was now, because of the gratuity, earning over $20,000 a year. $20,000 for y'all who you see a big money now. $20,000 was a lot of money because when they took me on at Bahamas Princess, I was making they paid me $19,000. I left the ministry, must be making about, I was making $10,000. Okay? And I had an honors degree, a double degree from Master University. And I was in one of the best schools there. And when I came out, my salary was $7,800 a year with the ministry. So you all understand this second thing where we got to. I did a training for the Grand Hotel before when they were refurbishing it, getting ready to sell it to great Spanish people who got it now, right? But I did a thing for them, and we were trying to get, they had a brilliant bartender. We were trying to get him to become the bar manager. Child, he refused, he wouldn't do it. Because this dude was making like $15,000 to $2,000 a week in gratuity.
Wow.
I am
So
telling
what
you.
if he went to
So he went to Lawrence, he went to
Was it
Big
that?
Bend.
Oh,
Maybe about 480 or something like that.
Okay.
And so you couldn't get people to want to move. And so that's why I tell you, we have sort of backed ourselves in a corner. Okay? This tourism has made us lost the value of money. Because if a hotel, say a hotel like Atlantis, is at about 60%, they need to be at least about 60% occupancy. Their maid staff, they could earn around $560 a week. And they said, I know. Okay? And so we live this strange, more than any other Caribbean country. We make more money. Our money is valued more than all of them. Okay? Only Bermuda and Cayman, and they are not Caribbean. But every other, and that's why, well, it's one of the reasons why people love to come here. Even the people from the north, you know, you all don't know. Listen, the man down me, the man was from Montana. I met him on a plane, we were going somewhere. And you know, he told me, young, good looking, gorgeous white fella. And he said, and so we were just talking, and on the plane and he says, you know, Miss Agatha, do you think I can move to the Bahamas? Because I can just work on the beach, mixing and serving drinks. Because he paid $7 and something cents for a drink. And that man said, listen, he said, out here, you could be a millionaire. You could be a millionaire, okay? Because they spend what they make differently. They could all be much better off than we are, okay? And so when you were asking me some of the things that HR can do, and some of those little, motivational sessions and meetings you set up with your people, there's nothing wrong with helping them how to budget, how to set goals. I used to do it, and so it made my job very, very meaningful. And I still go there and have people who say, oh, Miss Marcel, I remember, man, you did a training with us, and you say this, and I got my house, so I could. So we have to learn how to do those things. And so these are some of the tools you have. Your Employment Act, basic pay, business, contract of employment, what the day means, employee means. And you use this and tools like these to help you build your employee handbook. See, these things go with sense, because you can't be writing one thing in the employee handbook and this way something else. Okay? And so this is why the kind of formal introduction is good, because you begin to know where to go to get these things. And I tell you, we don't have time to go into it, but another act that companies don't use effectively is the national insurance. I'm telling you, and employers, they're so lazy, they just rather say, man, pay them. They don't redeem, for most companies, they don't redeem the money the national insurance pay, like for sick and things like that.
No.
A lot of
They
companies
ask
don't
them,
redeem.
okay, they ask them to bring the money in, and if they pay the employee will have to get the
Well,
funds and turn it
They
in.
must be catch sense now.
Yeah.
It must be catch sense.
They have some companies that are generous, more the private firms that allow them to keep both,
Mhm.
and then add plus
Mhm.
their pay, I
Mhm.
think it's only half of it.
Mhm. Mhm. But these are the things, you don't have to read, you don't have to like commit these to memory, but what you do have to do is have these on hand.
Exactly. To
Read.
refer to, highlight it.
And I always say to people, I know you could go, online and find everything, but sometimes it's good to pull up things and read it, okay? And mark it up, mark out all the important parts to you. That's what I do. And this gives you, this will be chapter 321, employment policies. Recruitment and selection talks about managers of manpower, treatment of employees, talks about training. These can give you some good ideas and kind of things you can do to make what you do exciting. It talks about your payment systems, status and security of employees, reduction of the workforce, working conditions, and it keeps you out of trouble. And I would always say, sometimes unions are necessary, but if you could do without a union, because a lot of them don't stand up where they should stand up. Because I still have a problem today. I cannot figure out, and maybe y'all can help me. how it could be allowed that an organization takes away people's right to conciliation and arbitration. Then you have in-house resolution. And I have no recourse if I don't agree with how you resolve my issue. Unions actually allow that. That is contrary to the Industrial Relations Act. Okay, so sometimes I wonder who would, who is working on behalf of the ordinary people? Who? Who? And what we don't understand is, as people are challenged in their daily work and they can't manage it, that's how they come to work. And you get low productivity, low performance, stress out people, people who stay home. That is how. So you have to try to do what you can to make sure that your people get the best that they can. Now, that's just a touch on health, safety, the law, and things that people don't even think about. And you all, the entire people, have to think about it. So, any questions? Anything you want clarification on? Anything you can think about, now's the time to ask. Because next week, you won't have time. Because let me tell you what you have to do. Margaret and Terry, hear this, please. Here's what you have to do.
Oh, Lord.
On next week, you have to present your work to me and the class in the house that HR built.
You
So,
want a presentation?
yes, ma'am, I want a presentation and your work. Because I need to know you did your work and you understand what you did. So you will email that
Right.
to me. You will have a copy because you have to actually present it in class.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's called my quality assurance. I don't want you to think for 1 minute someone else can do that work. And listen, I've had it done to me. Okay, I didn't mind because I really. Well, if somebody wants somebody else to do their work, that's on them. That's not on me because you still don't know nothing.
You still don't know it, yeah.
Okay,
You can help or ask, you know.
but absolutely. But that's what we're going to do. So next week, you will send my copy.
I had the same one.
Same way you do it. You will send my copy, and then you will have a copy for you to present to the class. So that should be really interesting. Now,
You're sending it on the Tuesday, like normal.
Tuesday, good. It has to be here by Wednesday.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
The paper has to be in by Wednesday.
By Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so you present it, then I'll take them home and I will assign go over them again and assign your marks, give you your marks. And then what I do is I tally all the marks. And passing is 70. So you have to get 70 to pass the course. Lower than 70, the certificate will read participated in the class. And then you can get, I have to check on actual number, then you can get a certificate of merit. And then you can get a certificate that's outstanding. And all of those are a combination and a compilation of everything: attendance, participation in the class, assignments, and the last paper. So up to you all. And I remind you how the marks went. For attendance and participation in the class, it's 20%. For your homework assignment and pop quizzes, including the pop quiz that you're going to have right now, that's 40%. And then paper, your paper and your class presentation makes up the other 40%. Okay? So we have some pop quiz questions. And I would like each of you to choose a number. I have numbered the questions. And I have questions 1 to 10. So you can choose your questions. This is closed book. Thank you. No, I don't know if they closed the book. You don't think I closed? No,
You're answering on the spot.
that's right. Close. You can close the books now.
Okay. So you asking us questions or we have the right to answer to you?
No, I'm gonna give you, when you pick the number you want, 1 to 10, I will give you a question.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead and pick. Tell me what number you want.
Pardon?
What number do you want? Margaret, we would like to see you, please.
Okay, 1 second.
What number, Karen? What number, y'all? No, call us a number.
Asking for what number?
4. What, 1?
Number 1.
1. Number 6. What you want, Karen?
7.
Margaret,
I'm coming.
you're gonna get pretty. Well, this ain't no pretty guy. Okay.
Number 3.
Hey, look at you. Wow, brother.
Pardon?
All right, number 3. Okay, number 7. And you want to think about it. Think about it. Just have to.
Why don't you get it right?
No, you got it right. I saw markets on my handbook, so I just saw it. First I have to put that to the side. Okay? Now remember, close the workbook and put it to the side. This is a closed book quiz.
Okay.
Closed book quiz. And remember now, 2 of the most important characteristics of an HR person are what?
Honesty and integrity.
Honesty and integrity. Let's put it to practice. Number 7. What, and you may jot down little notes so your answer is cohesive. You may write your answer. I'll give you a minute because I'm going to read all of them. Then I'll come back. What is
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What?
Me neither,
what
I don't want.
at the ending just now?
okay? No, what I said was you can write down your thoughts because I'll read all of the questions and then I'll come back.
Okay.
So your question is, what is the main goal of performance management? Part 1.
What question is this?
This is in yours. This is Carrie for this question.
Okay.
This sound isn't clear.
Okay. This question, this is Gittens' question. This isn't for anybody else. This is Gittens.
Okay.
What is the main goal of performance management? The second part is, what are some of the benefits to an organization of having an effective performance management system? What are some of the benefits of having an effective performance management system? Number 3. Number 3, this is yours. What? Number 3 is yours. This is your question. What are some of the components needed to develop a performance appraisal / management system?
What are some of the components needed?
To develop a performance appraisal / management system.
To develop a what?
To develop a performance management system. Number 6, Joseph, this is yours. Name and describe 4 HR key functions.
So we sending something to you?
No. You have to tell me all about it.
Or we have to say it, okay.
Number 4. What are some of the tools the HR team can use
What are some of the points about it?
to ensure the right selection for the job and give reasons for your choices?
July.
You got it?
Okay, what are some of the tools the HR team can use to ensure the right selection for the job? Give reasons for your
Choices.
Oh.
Okay, number one. Benicia. What are the two main components of a job profile? And how does the job profile help in recruitment and selection? What are the two main components of the job profile? And then how does the job profile help in recruitment and selection? Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes to get your thoughts and stuff together.
Sorry, you said what are the two main components of a job profile? You said something else in addition to that?
Yeah, how does the job profile help in recruitment and selection? And just think about it. These are difficult. Just think. I don't think so. Just think of what you would do if you were going back in your workplace dealing with the issue. Just think of how you would deal. It's amazing. You all pick all the non-exciting questions. I have one exciting question right here.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you finish, you will tell us what they all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just jotted down some things on them that I would expect in your answer.
What?
Mhm. So don't you think this is a great way to pick up a full 20 points? So you only gotta make up, you only gotta find the rest. Because you were here, you participated. I didn't say your answers had to be, you know.
It ain't right or wrong.
Right, okay, exactly. I didn't say that. I just wanna know if, you know, and you may think things that to me don't sound like sense. You know? And
Make sense?
exactly, and then I'm able to say, well, you know, well, I would have, you know, yeah, this is, you gotta learn how to work this thing out. Then your homework, I would say, out of 40, I don't see why anybody should get less than 30. So that's already 50. To pass, you only gotta make it 20 more. And from then, you could just get better and better and better, you know?
You're doing part two of this class as well, the intermediate section. Do you usually do that?
Mhm.
Do you know when the schedule to run out again? It depends on how many classes, how many persons enrolled.
It depends on how many persons. Yeah.
Okay, we're not
Yes. Mhm.
tentative date yet, okay.
How much more time you have, Miss Marcel?
1 minute.
How much?
1.
Okay.
You don't need more than that, right? You're finished, right? Margaret, did you get your mark from your first assignment?
No, man.
You didn't get it because you didn't want it.
I didn't get it because
Because you didn't want it. Because I told you all if you send me a little WhatsApp, I'll send you your grade for you. Otherwise,
I don't have your number. How?
well, I gave it to everybody last time.
I don't have it. Let me send you a WhatsApp right now. What's your number?
376 7525.
3767525.
Uh-huh.
Okay, send a message. Good night.
Okay, and Charles, tell me what you would do before before we go over the questions. And that course reminded me, so an employee from an organization called me up and asked me, and told me they were on the way to the testing place because they came in and they gave one little course. They, just something like was in the truth, and they sent them out and told them they had to go take a test. And he was so upset. So what y'all would have done? If somebody come over there and just look.
Yeah, it's spring.
Yeah, but I mean, do you tell them they have to go take a test?
No, a lot of companies do that. The other day now, manager was sick. Well, he called, so he had a call for, So we tell him, stay home for a couple of days and say, everything he has to go take a call for this. I say, it's too foolish. You know now in this environment, you can't tell nobody,
They always have to learn, you have a headache, fever.
Any one thing. You put up a simple, maybe, connecting everything to this. Sometimes when you wake up in the morning, you don't rock your throat, feel it's hot, so you feel. So like that's all that now.
When I walk into work, my sinus is coming. Every time I walk into work in the morning, my sinus is coming.
Especially the sleeping air condition. You wake up with a scratchy throat or, by the time you get around, move around in the sun, 9, 10 o'clock, you up and running again,
Okay, let's go. Now, please, I would like, as people give their answers, I would like the rest of you just to listen and see if there was anything else that you would have added so we can share it. So we're going to start with Carrie, since you got her question first.
Pardon? I didn't hear you. You said that I said.
No, I said that we will start with you.
Okay.
Since you got your question first.
That is fair. Go ahead.
Yes, please.
So so my question is, what is the main goal of performance management? And what are some of the benefits to an organization of having an effective performance management system? So my response is, the goal or objective of a performance management is to help employees reach their optimum potential and goals of the organization by use of coaching tools. Tools and systems which provide employees with their relevant targets, expectations, and responsibilities. Some of the benefits of the performance management systems are to aid the organization to reach their their strategic goals, increase productivity. I have that aids in correcting any employee issues, such as less than par production of work and training needs, etc.
Sounds good to me. Anything she might have missed out, y'all think? pretty good summary, I believe. So what we want to say in a nutshell, and what she said in a nutshell, is the goal of performance management. Remember now, I want you all to be able to tie these things back to the sessions we have. So the goal is to achieve organizational objectives and goals. That's the main reason, or the reason in a nutshell. She said it well, but in a nutshell, just remember that, to achieve organizational objectives and goals. And then when you think of the benefits of performance management, think of I call them the 3 Ps. And you hear me talk about them more. Performance, high productivity, and high profits. They're the benefits of an effective performance management system. That's high performance, high productivity, and high profits. Where of course, if you're not, that's if you're looking at a for-profit organization. Okay.
Sorry, this is the benefits of performance. What's this?
The benefits of high performance.
No, I mean, what's the whole thing is the high performance, high productivity, high profits are benefits of a high performance management.
Benefits of an effective performance management system. It's excellent. See? That's pretty easy, right? Because you got it. You grasp it, so you don't really have to memorize anything. You just think about it. Thank you, Carrie. Very good.
Thank you. I actually had to think about the actual system and what is used for me to remember. I was trying to remember because I remember you gave us 2 definitions, but none of those were coming to mind. So what I did was
Exactly
about the system and go from there.
Exactly, and that's the point. I don't want you to remember the book. I want you to be able to. Yes. Margaret, number 3.
What are some of the components to develop a performance management system? I put tracking progress and performance. I have setting goals, proper and honest feedback, regular performance reviews. That's what I have.
Okay. What was your first one again?
What are some of the components to develop a performance management system? Okay.
Okay, now, your question was, what are some of the components needed to develop the system? And I'm asking you again to go over those components for me.
Yeah, let's go. Pardon, sorry.
Yeah, what was the first component you said?
To develop a performance management system. I put tracking progress and performance.
So what is the component of the system you would use to track the performance? You need some things before you can actually begin to track the performance.
Also, I missing a piece before I get to the set.
Yeah. For example, right? You can't really design a performance management system without knowing some things. What are some of the things you need to know about your organization before you do what you said?
The culture of the organization.
The culture of the organization, but there's something even, there's something more important than the culture.
There's something
Simple. simple that you have to know about the organization before you could do anything. Come on, what's that?
I don't know, someone else could jump in, because I don't know.
Jump in someone else. What is that thing you should know? What, before you can come up with a performance system, before you can come up with a financial system, before you.
Like she said, she had said function, no, not that. The type of business it is.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Why you trying to make this so hard?
Because I think it's bad.
Yeah, you overthink.
I need to, why must he think too hard? Because I don't.
You don't think it too hard. Because the first thing you need to start with is an organization's goals.
Well,
Simple thing.
But I put, hold on now, Miss Marcel. Miss
Organization.
Marcel, I put setting goals. Now, you never say in order. So that was one of the things I had here. I said track progress and performance, regular performance reviews, employee feedback, and setting goals. But you didn't say you wanted no order.
No, but before you see the way you wrote them, before you do any of the other things.
Okay, I didn't have an order. I understood.
That's all. You
Understood.
them, you know, and so when
I understand.
right. So when you look at answering a question, you
Understood.
answer it yes in the best way that coordinated. Let me use that. But all of those things,
What was the question?
That-
I really write that down.
her question was.
The question was what are some of the components to develop a performance management system?
Okay.
So I did have setting goals. I just didn't put my answers in order.
Mhm.
That's where I went wrong.
But I don't want you to, the thing isn't, the component isn't to set the goal. The component is
Okay.
to identify the
Okay, let me change that.
organization.
Identify. Okay, identify goals.
Right, identify the organization goals, because then you know now what sort of things that you need to do in your, in the system. Because once you identify the goal, the organization's goals, then you can set the performance expectations that you're talking about. And then
Miss Marcel.
Huh?
Okay.
You only
Okay.
just
Okay.
one.
Okay.
No, that was good. Go ahead and give yourself. That was good.
Okay, I got you.
Then
Okay,
just
I got you.
right then at the bottom, the goals you're setting wouldn't be the organizational goals. The goals you're setting would be the HR goals to make the organization goals happen. Make sense?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
That's cool. Okay, Joseph, number 6.
Name on the slide for HR key functions. I have one, recruitment and selection. HR selects the right person to fit a particular job description or job profile that is advertised. It is our duty to find the right talent, the right person who fit, the right person who has the right competencies and attributes for the specific job description. 2, train and development. It is our duty as HR to have sessions that develop and train the employees where it is going to educate about the policies or guidelines of the organization or developing classes to enhance employees on giving them the best customer service. 3, conducting or either recruiting the policies and procedures or guidelines of the organization. It is the duty of HR to make sure that the organization policies and rules or guidelines are executed to the highest extent daily. When persons step out of the boundaries of this, it is our duty to reprimand them and fix the problem at hand. Number 4, I know this one is it, but I have to counsel. That's all I gotta say. HR helps to resolve issues, whether it's between an employee and their supervisor or manager. It is duty to find out or sit with both employees down and resolve the matter at hand. This causes the environment to be positive between both parties, which helps both of them to execute their duties positively and effectively.
You did fine, except you left out, all of those are components, and you were asked to, you were asked to, key functions, names, key functions. But you left out, unless I didn't hear it, you left out one very key function. So you saw that you left out one key. What's the key one she left out? Well, it would be the most important one for 99.9% of people.
Compensation and
Higher.
I was thinking that.
That's right.
Compensation and benefits.
That's
Yeah.
right. Well, listen, the next, you all will realize by now that most people go into work only going for pay their bills. And anytime you don't believe that, you just ask yourself that question I asked you all, why are you working? Okay, so now we have
For money.
exactly most people. But you find every now and then you find a couple of people who really work for something different. They work because they want to prove a point. They will prove certain things could happen. That's why I just happen to get some money. No, if I was working for money, I could be very rich. And but let me tell you, if you are very good, effective HR people and trainers, there really is an opportunity in the field to do well financially. But you have to know. It can't be like some people around here who just
Get the job, yeah.
talking. Okay, number 4.
That'd be me. Yeah, what are some of the tools the HR team can use to ensure the right selection for the job? Give reasons for your choices. Okay, the first one I put, full resumes from a pool. And for a particular role, we're gonna check for their skill set, experience, and qualifications. And in the interview process, we're gonna gauge how a person, how they interview, how they present. And from the way they present, we could determine whether they're a talent or just someone we want to fill the job. We can also do a background check from one or two former employers, to get feedback on the past performance, attitude, and work ethics that the person had.
You missing anything? Did you mention tests?
A test?
Because for some jobs,
Right, but yeah, well, yeah.
yeah, for some jobs,
You have to do some things.
yeah, you have to do a test. But even basic tests, sometimes it's good because you don't know if your people can read. All right, some of them you don't know. And especially like laboring workers, like warehouse workers, you have to be really careful with that. Because if that too, and it actually, that's probably the best gauge of where a person is at. Because
like get them and bring it back.
What about the test include like some jobs be like, oh, you have to do like a drug test or like a psychology.
Yeah, that's what include all of that. Because and some organizations should really have such things. Because I really think like places like the police force, prison officers, I honestly think at least once a year They should do psychological testing, you know? So, yes.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yes, ma'am.
They go through a lot.
There was a question I wanted to ask. What are the things that you find valuable in when an employee or prospective employee brings you a reference? When you say let's say you say two references or two professional references, what it is you're looking for? What do you want to see in those references?
Whether they're a team
Team
player,
Mhm.
the type of attitude. Say they like, what the word is I want? Reliable, responsible people, reliable, responsible, because everybody's put the word trustworthy in there, so they think that's just a word they use to. But yeah, keywords that stand up for me, like I said, whether they're team players, how they get along with other people.
So let me ask you,
Reliable, whether they're reliable.
does it matter then the source of the reference, where the reference comes from? So why do so many people want their pastor to write one?
And
I have always wondered about that, you know. As an HR director, I saw so many resumes from the pastor, from a teacher, and you have to beg practically to see something from a manager or an employer that you worked for, who could really, if anybody could give a reference on you. You know? So you really gotta watch for those kinds of things, because people be telling you people are honest and they have integrity and trust, but they don't know anything about
And
it.
then a lot of companies too, they just give me two references. You could get anyone to
And
write a
some people don't
reference.
even follow up on the reference.
You
They
really
don't
don't
even
call
follow
like
and
the
they-
reference.
yeah.
I go to the person's phone if I maybe two.
And then some people,
Yeah.
they go references, they give the references based off
And
of
give it
personal
someone else.
number.
I don't think that.
No.
HR people, many of the HR people, I'm using this word a lot. Many of the HR people do not follow up. They don't check references, they don't.
Well, they want you to go a reference.
They
want to apply.
So, as we go through these things, you will understand why we have such employee lack of motivation, low productivity and all of that. You understand it because the foundation is weak. So if you have a weak HR foundation, then everything else is weak. So just in case number one thing we never happened.
What are the two main components of a job profile? The first component is the job title. And then the second component are the job functions and duties, which give a full description of what is actually expected from the day-to-day tasks of an employee in a specific area. The other part of the question is how does it help in HR and selection? This helps with recruitment depending on the job profile and description of duties. This helps in matching the right candidate for the right job title. Example, an administrative assistant would not be best suited for a facilities officer position. Reason being, perhaps that persons don't have the right experiences and exposures, and perhaps that person doesn't have a love for that kind of area. They would be totally clueless in knowing how to operate machinery or fix any electrical issues or plumbing issues that might arise. You must match the experience and love for the job profile with the right candidate. A person with a love for people would easily fit in any customer service role or human resource area. A person's personality type also plays an important role in matching persons to the right job profile. Friendly, empathetic, warm, encouraging, coaching, trustworthy, honesty, and integrity. The profile details the duties expected to carry out one's day-to-day activities. Gives the employee a guideline to follow, which will be evaluated on whether it be annually, semi-annually, or quarterly. Let's see, a resume also gives a good guideline of what area the candidate would be best suited for.
Read that last part about a profile. And I know you have some things to say about that.
The profile details the duties expected to carry out. It gives the employee a guideline to follow, which will be evaluated on, whether it be annually, semi-annually, or quarterly. And then I also included the resume. It gives us a guideline of what area the candidate would be best suited for.
Good, now. That's absolutely right. But look at what I asked you in the first part of that question. I asked you, what are the two main components of a job profile? And your answer?
No.
Somebody, what are the two main components of the job profile? Do not look in that book. What are the two main components of the job profile?
The duties.
What is it called?
The skill set attributes.
She got it right. She just, I just wanted, she didn't get, you're warming up. Oh, you said the same thing. The two main components of the job profile is the job description.
I said that.
No, but where you said it.
I said it. That's a part of my first answer. Two main components, the job title.
But the job title isn't the job description.
Job title and job functions and duties and the job description of the actual.
Yeah, but that ain't right, because the job title ain't, it ain't a component profile. It's the description. And then the other one is the two components is the, when we talk about some things, remember some skills we talk about, the two kinds of skills. So, yes, and so they're wrapped up in the job capabilities list. So the two components would be the job description. This is the two components of the profile now. The job description and the job capabilities list. In that capabilities list, we find what you started to mention, Helen, your sputtering attributes. You find the competencies and the attributes. Okay? That's right. And everything else about how does the job profile help in recruitment and selection was right on. But you gotta get the once you start thinking in terms of the technical things, and this is why in like in the public service and in the government and stuff, you'll always hear the employees say, well, they only the politicians, they're policymakers, they come and they go, but we are the technocrats. We know. So that was your technical question. And the bottom half was perfect with the illustrations and stuff. Because that's, no, I like that. That's why you need to know the correct things. That's why you need to know competencies and attributes. So you could now fit the right person into your job description. And the profile is the two of them together. The description and the capabilities list. And my question to organizations is never try to change your vacancy to suit somebody, because it wouldn't work. They have to come closest to fitting your profile as possible, your job vacancy as possible. So if you need somebody with ABC, because that's what that job description calls for, ABC, that's the job duties and functions and responsibilities and all that. Do not go out and hire XYZ, because you know XYZ will only bring you trouble. Okay, so they were well answered. So let's take 5 more minutes and I'll let you go. But I want to give you this random question. Let me pick this one. And then you can each give me your thoughts on it. Let me see. I have this other one. Okay. I want your view of this statement, and then we'll call it a night. The culture of an organization. And honestly, I keep harping on it because I think it is so important. The culture of an organization is defined by who gets selected, promoted, and developed. Now, y'all could give me your thoughts on that and use any organizations to illustrate that you want. I want your view on that. The culture of an organization is defined by who gets selected, promoted, and developed.
I could speak on that. And I need point of view. Like, we have a lot of persons. So because it's so politically based, we have a lot of persons who you would have, like, just for example, somebody on the outside, and then you have like an MP who have their person, they want their person to work. Like political views, like somebody's an FNM and a PLP, and because this person, I'd say I see a lot of people who just for an example, the PLP and the FNM. The PLP, you know, they doing their all, the person who is a PLP, giving their all, doing their all, or whatever it is, and because FNM is in power, they would rather give it to the person who is FNM. And that's like the culture of our organization.
Culture. Listen, that's the culture now. Because jobs are few, I mean, it's not ideal. But you can't get a job around here unless you know somebody. You can't, you would never know where a vacancy is. It is very sad. Now, does anybody have a different take on that?
I was about to say the same thing the lady said, because as soon as I heard it, it reminded me of a political standpoint. I guess this could also work in a company where, not even I get like what you were saying with people dating in a company, that could work the same way too. Where a particular employee, she only promotes her boyfriend or husband, or the husband only promotes or give their wife a raise or their sweetheart or whatever you want to call it. That could work against that as well. But when I first heard it, I thought about politics first.
So, you know, the only thing that makes me it's like this is how it is. Because you all must know that that's not peculiar to the Bahamas. That's how it is globally. And there are some places like the United States, like where they don't even wait for you to move. You know when a government changes, you know, you know you're supposed to go. So and I'm serious. Okay, I mean that's a solid example, but that's it. So let me ask this question: should the government change? What should happen? Okay, and this is I want you to think HR now, not politics. HR. Think of when people are selected like that, where they are just sent, and they are sent in appreciable numbers. What do you think that does to how, or no, what do you think that does to performance management and how it impacts an organization's performance goals? When people are just allowed to come and any amount can come. Because, you know, I believe, in my opinion, I observed in the public service that one of the reasons the productivity seemed to be so low in the service is because there are too many people and there's not enough work. And so people hold down on the work and hold up on the work and don't want nobody to help on work. And I'm serious, so they can have work. Okay, so all of these things are things, you know, as HR professionals and building professionals, we must think about, because I truly believe that something else is going to happen in this country. And that is the ability to work from anywhere is going to further impede growing employment substantially. I always smile when I see this commercial. You all might see it. I think it comes on our TV with this man who's he from Massachusetts, one of them cold states. And he and his wife moved down to Treasure Keep. And so he's bragging about the live fiber. Fiber, right? Yeah, the new fiber. Yeah, stuff. And he's bragging because, you know, me and my wife, we operate several businesses from here. And just like how, like to me, COVID exposed a lot of things and gave us a lot to think about. Because it shows you that things can change. And if you think you don't have no control over performance management now, what do you think about when your staff is working from home? You know what, listen. One of the classes like you working from home.
We found that
that
persons work better.
in their
Our
brain.
productivity went way up by then I did.
Yeah, because you work harder, I think, when you work.
You do,
Sometimes when
even
they
they
know, and after the storm, when we came back, like you never off that computer, you all morning, all night, weekends, I felt I worked harder when I was working from home, because when I.
But it is true, you work harder when you're working from home than when you're in the office. You work
Harder.
I think
Longer hours.
And you work longer.
longer, yeah.
Really?
Yes. I find when you're home, you don't take an hour for lunch for sure. You may go and get something to eat and you stay working.
Productivity went up.
And yeah, and then you work and work. The time comes to when you would be leaving work if you were in office and you stay there and try to finish up. Yeah, it is true.
And I mean, I guess.
But no, I think this makes me feel a lot better because, you know, I talked to a couple of people who's supposed to be working at home and they out doing their own thing and
Most of
Yeah.
them, true now, some people are not true.
Would be like, if I need help, if somebody's on the line and they need help with something in customer service or in registration, and I'm calling the phone, nobody's answering, everybody working from home, but nobody's answering the phone, so what are you doing?
What are you doing?
So what are you doing?
I serious. And this is what, see, people who are honest and have integrity, they are the people who want to give their best, whether they are home, whether they down the street under the beacon tree, whether they in the workplace, they are going to give their best. And so the thing is for us to strive always to be one of those. Okay? So we're going to call it a night tonight, and I just want to remind you of what happens next week. You send in your work so that I get it by Wednesday. You have a copy that you will present because that's an integral part of your work. And when those presentations are done, so if we get it done in an hour and a half, whenever they're done, we will go home. No, there's no page limit. I want to see how your brain, I want to see how your brain working this. Okay? So we know what we're doing next week.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Okay, good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.